Hi everyone, this is Suzanne Wagner. We are doing the Numerology and Astrology for November 18th, 2021. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 16, and if you add the 1 and the 6 together, you get the number 7. Today, the number 7 is about the mysteries surrounding the boundaries and parameters of life. All life forms around a premise, and that premise begins to define the structure that will be the basis for the energy form to experience existence. There is a type of energetic science to such things, and that desire to understand those deeper meanings for the synchronicities that manifest in life is the basis for many spiritual tools and the root of many scientific studies. The study of philosophy is the process to understand those mental and emotional constructs that form thought and empower complex understanding. Today, look at why you are personally here. What is it that you seek to understand? What things did your soul want to implement and experience? Understanding the personal choices and strategies that begin to define and shape our experience is the beginning to learn how to become aware of how all our actions have consequences. Within our DNA, we are ancient and we are new. We are based on the anchors of who we are is based on the anchors we were attracted to that made us choose particular DNA. But from there, things are up to us. We use the DNA as a clay, and we mold that clay and shape it with our will and our intention into what we have currently become. Use this energy to help create new strategies that allow us to grow within and beyond the boundaries of our current self. The astrology today. The moon helps us to be restful as it works through the sign of Taurus. There is a lunar eclipse arising early tomorrow, and we will be feeling it today in the form of strong emotions. Lunar eclipses were always a time for the ancient peoples to reflect on their life and to make changes. Such moments are not to be feared, but to give you the energy to push past resistances that have manifested patterns of suffering. This eclipse is about looking at the compromises needed at this time in your personal life and in history. This eclipse is also trining with Pluto, which will magnify its power and potency. It also squares Jupiter, which assists us in looking at what we believe and what we need to manifest in this world. We might start to notice a buildup of energy in your body. For some, these solar flares sense something internally in motion, and the electrical stimulation has been intense. It might be great to do some house clearing, such as smudging and doing ritualistic baths. If you feel a bit off, you will not be alone. This eclipse is lasting longer than normal, making the impact last for months rather than weeks. We are to look at the places we want more emotional security and financial security. The world will be changing its value systems and us along with it. Overall, this day is creative and inspires our imagination with Mercury trining to Neptune. Pay attention to those subtle messages that seem to guide us towards another place in space. Our inner knowing is expanding, and we can understand and make better sense of the actions of others. We seem to be able to better navigate the obstacles that are arising. For the next few weeks, spiritually, there could be a lot more expansion that is possible spiritually. While an objective detachment is recommended, there is great beauty available if one is willing to look into the places that are new and unfamiliar. My quote for today: when will we know that our time has come? Will we embrace the moment or decide to run? I think that we have all died so many times that if we surrender and move from the physical to the sublime, we will discover that the attachments to the physical world are what make it hard to let go and let our soul uncurl. I try to remember that this life has been full, and while many moments I have been a handful, I just need to smile at my naivete and embrace my mistakes with simplicity. And my blog for today. Every life is filled with defining moments that change the trajectory of a situation. Each choice can slightly alter the outcomes and patterns of the future. That is because each future is not set in stone. There are so many small choices that split off one line and create another. Recently, I spoke to a client who had a terrible circumstance that seemed accidental that had drastically altered her experience of life and given her a foggy brain, made it so she cannot work a full-time job, and chronic pain that no one can pinpoint. And in looking at her chart, while in each life we have challenges, her chart does not reflect what her current experience is. I learned a long time ago that pain, especially physical pain, that is hard to diagnose is often either the stirring up of past life trauma that needs to be worked through, or the manifestation of an emotional wound that was deeply buried and now surfaces as pain that seems to have no cause. Now, I know that there are other options, but I just want to talk about these two for today. And such things are tricky to unravel and work through. That is where the great healers, gurus, and energy workers and acupuncturists come in. I look at my body and I see how I have diligently tried to take ownership of my physical patterns of pain. As my life has not been without trauma to my body, ballet being a big culprit, and I have past life traumas of my own that arose in this life that manifested when I was born as manifestations of twists in my entire abdominal cavity and most bones being misshapen. I have had a life where I have consistently tried to get into those amazing healers to help me unravel and release past life traumas that have caused so many abnormalities in my body. The doctors are always amazed when they look at my MRI, and I am not in terrible pain. And I am not. But I have spent my entire life trying to not take on the pain of others and just deal with my own. I know that financially, I have spent the money I probably should have saved for retirement on this process. It was worth every penny, and I don't regret it, whatsoever, I should say. In our modern American medical system, the things that worked were not the things that the insurance would pay for. That is where there is still such a huge gap between modern medical reality and the more subtle energy tools that help align and release trauma. Some things take a lifetime. I have had many of my own, and that took decades to get to the bottom of, to finally have a total release from subtle manifestations of pain. I'm pretty sure with what I have been working with that I have been tortured and killed multiple times in past lives. I even had a psychic in Europe tell me that when I was 18 years old. She told me that this lifetime I was learning to remember to integrate those traumas consciously, which explains why the guides had told me when I was a child that no part of myself may be left behind in the transition from this life to the next. I remember those moments when all the pieces from the myriad forms of healing that seemed to be disjointed and not make any sense finally came together, and the final piece is always about loving some part of myself from a past life that had been so traumatized. Accepting the good and the bad that I have done in past lives is at the core of healing such odd things. And it takes diligence to be brutally honest with our past and be willing to love first and foremost ourselves. No one can do the work for us that is required to move past the realms of our own human suffering. So today, I'm sending gratitude and light out to those healers that do so much for so many. Thanks, everyone.